So I'm seeing a lot of my destroyer homies running around on Tau Ceti aimlessly, not really knowing what in the world is going on, and we gotta put a stop to that. So today, we're going to change that. The first thing I want to talk about is who exactly is Destroyer for? Destroyer is going to be best for players that have an aggressive mindset and they're pretty decent from a gun skill standpoint. This is because Destroyer is not meant to be a passive runner. He's not meant to be an anchor or anything like that. Destroyer is built for people who want to make first contact, who want to apply pressure, who want to force reactions, open up fights for the squad, and also be able to get in and get out at a moment's notice. I would say out of all the runners here in Marathon, Destroyer probably has the lowest skill floor and the highest skill ceiling, meaning that you'll see people pick him up that are brand new to the game, not to mention he's the default runner, and then you'll see people that are of a high skill set be able to utilize him and all of his movement capabilities, and you're like, yo, there's no way in the world I can even track this cat down. Now, out of all the runners here in Marathon, I would say Destroyer has one of the lowest skill floors in the game, but yet one of the highest skill ceilings as well, meaning that a lot of players will have the opportunity to pick him up and do relatively decent, but Destroyer Warlords will really be able to separate themselves from the pack because they'll know when to engage, when to disengage, they'll know how to create pressure and do all that crazy stuff without really breaking a sweat. So the best way to frame it is that if you enjoy playing fast, you like taking initiative, you like being first contact, and having the aggro on you is your MO, then Destroyer is probably for you. Now, switching gears and slightly diving deeper, let's talk about Destroyer's abilities here. And the first ability I want to talk about is his prime ability, which is known as Search and Destroy. With Search and Destroy, Destroyer activates these shoulder-mounted missile pods, and when you deal sustained damage to the opposition, he'll actually proc and release homing missiles that will immobilize and deal damage upon impact. So in my opinion, this prime ability is multifaceted. You can use it to clear out enemy AI quickly, especially when they just spawn in and they're trying to mob on you. You can use it to help do chip damage against the opposition if you are in a gunfight. When those rockets fire, you may have an opportunity to knock them or immobilize them out in the open so that you can go ahead and clean them up. You can add burst damage against armored players. You have the opportunity to apply some AoE damage, especially if you're fighting a team and they're a bit clustered, which would give you the opportunity to crack shields and all that good stuff. And most importantly, it just gives you an opportunity to create pressure. Destroyer's tactical ability is known as Riot Barricade, and this is when Destroyer can pull up an energy barricade that blocks incoming damage. It does drain that tactical energy over time. You'll see that there's a little meter on the icon, and it drains even faster when you take damage. Now, Riot Barricade is super cool, and just like the prime ability, it does have multiple use cases, and those cases are totally dependent upon your playstyle. You can use the Riot Barricade to protect your homies while they're trying to revive one another. You can use it to protect a teammate, like if you have a triage on your team and he has to go out in the open and try to use his reboot plus on your homie that got fully eliminated. You can use it to protect him in that regard. If you had a bad push and you were in a tight corridor, you can pop it up and you can backtrack, and the list goes on, right? The most important thing to note is that this Riot Barricade does not just have a singular use case. It's not just a singular tool. You can use it for just about anything as long as it fits within your creative toolbox. You can really allow your creativity to flow and make the Riot Barricade useful in just about any set of circumstances. Destroyer's first trait is known as Thruster, and this is when you're airborne. When you tap the jump button again, it will fire your booster that thrusts you in the direction you are moving. Now, I do want you all to know that this is more of a horizontal mobility tool rather than a vertical mobility tool, so it's not like a double jump, but it can be useful if you're trying to traverse from rooftop to rooftop. It can get you over there quicker and in a safer fashion. Or if you're just trying to cover ground, you can go ahead and use that thruster ability. Just keep in mind that thruster ability will cause you to build up heat relatively quickly, so do not walk around thinking you are just going to be able to spam it. And then lastly, Destroyer's second trait is known as Tactical Sprint. This is when you double tap your sprint button and it triggers a faster sprint where Destroyer lifts his gun up and he moves quicker than usual. Now, the trade-off here is that you do generate additional heat, which means this can be strong for aggression, this can be good for rotations and applying pressure, but if you don't manage your heat the right way, it will get you put down. Now let's switch gears here and talk about what I would consider to be Destroyer's win condition, all right? Destroyer's primary objective should be always to create disruption, to take aggro to the best of their very own ability, and to open up the fight for their respective team. That's it. That's Destroyer's job, bar none. Destroyer should be the runner that is changing the pace of the fight by doing things like forcing attention onto himself, making first contact, creating panic and/or pressure on the opposition, softening targets up for his teammates to do what they do best, whether if it's off of a flank, chip damage, or supportive gunfire, and really just turning clean enemy positioning into absolute chaos and disarray. So do know that whether if you're running Destroyer or you have a Destroyer on your team, there's a good chance that Destroyer is probably going to go down first on the team, but Destroyer should be a trade opportunity, meaning, yes, Destroyer went down, but they should have applied a lot of damage on the opposition so that you all can come in for cleanup duty while they're trying to heal back up, or maybe Destroyer was able to get a knock before they went down, so now it is a straight up 2v2 because Destroyer knocked one and cracked shield on somebody else. So now the tide of the fight should be more so in your favor, because again, if Destroyer did his job correctly, he should have created enough damage, applied enough pressure, and created enough disorder for his teammates to come in and clean up the rest of the fight. Now, I want to talk about Destroyer's role on the team, and for the most part, I alluded a lot to it in my last point, but we're going to further explain things here, all right? So Destroyer should be known as your entry frag and/or your first contact runner. So for those unaware, if you do not know what that means, Destroyer should be the one shooting the shots first or trying to go ahead and push that team to open things up. Remember, Destroyer, his presence, his kit, his aura, whatever you want to call it, it's not discreet in any capacity. He is loud, he is aggressive, and he is attention seeking by nature. Think about it. When you are doing your tactical sprint, you have jet thrusters going. They're loud. When you use your thruster ability to dash midair, that is loud. When you are using the Riot Barricade, that is attention grabbing because everybody sees this giant neon barricade walking out in the open. When you use search and destroy and those missiles home out and they fire, that is going to make a lot of noise. So again, nothing about Destroyer is sneaky in any capacity, and you should not play him as such. His true value comes from making the opposition react to him, freeing up the opportunity for his teammates to do what they do best in that respective gunfight. So if we're talking about what good Destroyer play looks like, we're talking about a Destroyer that forces enemies to turn and look at them. We're talking about a Destroyer that decides to start fights on their own terms, at least for the most part. We're talking about a Destroyer that gives their teammates openings for flanks and utility usage. This Destroyer should be creating space for their teammates to move in on the opposition, and they should be pressuring opponents out of comfortable positions, okay? Now, on the other hand, what bad Destroyer play looks like is pushing in mindlessly, like without a thought or a care in the world, right? It's overextending without any team follow-up, right? So you haven't communicated to your teammates what you're doing, how you're trying to open things up for them, so on and so forth, and your teammates are nowhere near you to even make a play off of what you're doing, right? Spamming your abilities with no purpose whatsoever. You're just running around in the open, popping your Riot Barricade, and you proc search and destroy 20 seconds too early, so you got only 10 seconds to even engage because it lasts for 30, no, don't quote me on that. It lasts for 25 to 30 seconds. I can't remember for whatever reason top of mind. But either way, just using your abilities without any rhyme or reason. And then also too, bad Destroyer play is running around thinking you are absolutely unstoppable. My friend, I will tell you right here, right now, you are not unstoppable. You are just a big target that is running around Tau Ceti. So my Destroyers, remember, we should be aggressive, but it should be in an intelligent fashion, and it should be reckless within reason, okay? Now let's talk about best loadouts for a Destroyer. And anytime I talk about loadouts, I will always preface by saying this is totally subjective, right? This is how I would rock Destroyer, so feel free to adjust accordingly, okay? But I would say your best overall type of loadout to roll with would be running something along the lines of like an AR and a shotgun, whether if you are using a V75 Scar, M77, or an Impact H. That choice is totally up to you. But making sure you pair it with a shotgun, whether if that's like the Mizraya or a Waster, I would say would be in your best interest, right? Me personally, I'm not the biggest shotgun connoisseur. I will openly admit I love SMGs. My favorite SMG in the game is the Bully, so I am always rocking AR SMG for the most part whenever I am playing Destroyer, and it's usually something along the lines of a V75 SCAR and a Bully SMG. The SCAR is meant more so for the AI because we all want to utilize vault weapons and take advantage of the vault batteries, and then the Bully SMG is for me to do my thing in CQC. And by the way, my reasoning for going AR SMG or going AR and shotgun is because when you're running Destroyer, your goal is to take most engagements in that close to mid-range, right? That's where your kit is going to be most powerful. You are no good when you are in a long-range, drawn-out sniper or precision rifle type of fight. The best fights that you can take as Destroyer will be the ones where you are in that close to mid-range engagement. You go ahead, you crack somebody's armor, you can close ground with your ability, whether if it's your attack sprint or your thrusters. You can apply pressure with search and destroy and close in on the opposition and free up your teammates to do what they do best. With it all being said though, if you were to use a precision rifle or a sniper with an SMG or a shotgun, I would say that that can be feasible, especially if you are a higher skill player, or I should say in terms of your gun skill. If you are pretty good in that regard, then yeah, you can do so. Like if you are on Dire Marsh and you can already tell the sweat lords are out and you're going to get into some long range engagements, then yes, it may make sense, but you probably shouldn't go in the cryo archive. Well, we don't know much about that just yet, but you probably don't want to go on outpost with a precision rifle thinking you're going to chip everybody away at 100+ meters. Like that's just not going to happen, right? So that is where more so the AR plus SMG or AR plus shotgun logic comes into play. Now, when it comes to cores and implants, I like to follow the same logic as the weaponry. This is all about preference. Me personally, I am always trying to spec into mobility and or heat management to the best of my ability. So for example, I can't think of names top of mind, but there are cores that will help quiet your thrusters so you can get the jump on somebody in a cleaner fashion. Even though we know Destroyer is a loud, tanky looking dude, there are also ways to spec into less heat generation or having greater heat dissipation, so that way you can use those intrinsic trait abilities more. You can also spec into search and destroy as well. Like when you destroy enemy AI or enemy runners, it actually will increase the uptime of search and destroy, and that could be really good when you are trying to mow down a ton of AI or you find yourself in a gunfight with multiple teams. The longer you have search and destroy up, the better. It's all preference at the end of the day, but in my opinion, I would really try to spec into movement because Destroyer gets more dangerous the more he can efficiently move around the battleground. And the less you have to worry about overheating and making a ton of noise, the better. Now let's talk about best team composition for Destroyer, and I have to admit, this is a little bit challenging because Destroyer is usually one of those pieces that are flexible that can fit into just about any team, right? So again, I could just put Destroyer in any team and say, hey, look, we're good. But as I really try to think about this and work through this, I would say Destroyer is going to probably be really good with a recon or thief. Reason being is because when intel can be provided to Destroyer, Destroyer can go do what he does best, and that is destroy, cause disruption, cause chaos, right? Destroyer can start to plan out their means of attack, close ground, apply damage, apply pressure to allow his other homies to do, again, what they do best in laying not suppressive gunfire, but laying fire, flanking, cleaning up, so on and so forth. So having a runner that can adequately provide intel for Destroyer will allow for that entire operation to succeed, but not only succeed, but yet do it in a cleaner fashion so you don't have to burn through all your heals and extra ammunition and all that stuff. Another runner I think could be really good with Destroyer is Assassin, and the more I really spend time with Assassin as a runner, whether if I'm utilizing him or one of my teammates are utilizing Assassin, I realize that his smoke is so valuable. His smoke is so stinking valuable, and that same logic applies here for Destroyer. So think about this scenario where Destroyer goes in, Destroyer makes first contact, and Destroyer gets a knock, right? But the enemy opposition has Destroyer surrounded because they were flanking, repositioning, so on and so forth. What can Assassin do? Assassin can invis in, drop smoke. Assassin's invisible, so they don't have to worry about their own well-being, and Destroyer has the ability to be able to rotate out and reset or reposition through the smoke. And guess what? The best part about this is Destroyer got to retain that Riot Barricade, so he can use that if they are in a pinch in any capacity. Destroyer had the opportunity to heal back up, and if he was a really good and or smart player, Search and Destroy is still ready to be used. So now you have your whole kit to utilize in a 3v2 situation. Come on, man, it gets no better than that. And who's to say your assassin teammate isn't an absolute beast as well? If they are, they could make an aggressive play through the smoke, maybe get another knock, or even if they get traded, right? They do a lot of damage on the opposition. They're down, but you have an opportunity to reinsert yourself into the fight. Go ahead and take out that enemy, and now it's a 2v1 situation. You can revive your teammate. Now it's a 3v1 situation. You all can clean it up. And the icing on the cake is if you have that recon or thief, they could be playing an anchor role, still trying to provide as much recon as possible so you know what's going on at all times. Man, that combination can be absolutely ridiculous. And in all honesty, as I sit here and think about it, Destroyer, Assassin, and Recon and or Thief, that might be my first squad that I take into ranked once it drops. Now, before closing out, I want to talk about several things I want for you all to keep in mind as you are running Destroyer, okay? The first thing is that Destroyer is not a tank, okay? This is not Overwatch or Marvel Rivals when you can pick a tank character and they can just absorb all the damage in the frickin' match and still stand 10 toes down. No, that's not the case. He looks tanky, but remember, your health is solely dependent upon the shield that you have on, okay? You are only going to be as durable as your positioning, the type of shield you have on, and your ability to disengage from combat and reposition to re-engage or get away from there in totality. A lot of runner players get put down because they get this complex of when they're in that runner shell, they think that they are invincible, and again, my friend, that is not the case. The next thing I want you all to keep in mind is to use Destroyer's kit in an intelligent fashion. I alluded to this a little bit earlier in the video, but just don't spam abilities because the fight feels hectic and there's chaos all around you. Don't do that, right? Really good Destroyer players know when to use Search and Destroy to secure momentum or to turn the tide of a fight, right? They know when to adequately use their Riot Barricade and know that it should be saved for protection or the opportunity to escape or reposition. You know, they know when movement tech should be used to apply pressure or to completely throw the opposition off in the middle of a gunfight. Ultimately, my really good Destroyer homies know that the goal isn't to just press buttons and to burn his kit out. The goal is to utilize the kit and make every single move with a purpose. And in speaking of that, slightly building off of that prior point, your Riot Barricade is more versatile than you would think. Again, a lot of people will only pop it to try to walk towards somebody and close some ground, or they'll pop it because they don't know what to do because they're stuck out in the open taking gunfire. But this Riot Barricade is so useful. It is so versatile. You can use it to protect a revive, right? Your homies are trying to revive one another and get themselves back in the fight. You can use that Riot Barricade and it can tank a good amount of damage, or it can at least give your homies the opportunity to crawl out of harm's way for the revive. You know, you can protect your homie that is trying to pop a self revive. I've done that before. You can cover a teammate that is trying to loot some stuff off of a body, right? Let's say your teammates has no heals and they have no ammo and it's a bag out in the open. Guess what? You can pop that Riot Barricade, your teammate can grab all the heals and ammo out of that bag, you all can retreat to cover, and that teammate can spread it out accordingly. Like I mentioned earlier, if you are in a tight corridor gunfight and things are looking spooky, you can pop that Riot Barricade up and you can go ahead and backpedal out. Your teammate closes the door, you all can reposition. That's happened to me multiple times on Hauler and Perimeter, and it never fails. So do know, if you only use it as a tool with one ability or with one purpose, you are leaving so much value on the table as a Destroyer player, man. Don't do that. And lastly, something else I want for everybody to keep in mind when they're running Destroyer is to keep cardio kicks on you as much as possible, because they are absolutely amazing, especially if you run Destroyer. Remember, when you're moving, whether if you're using thrusters or your tag sprint, anything of that nature, you are constantly generating heat left and right. And the best way to counteract this is to make sure that we have those cardio kicks on deck, rolling, especially if you know you're going to get into a gunfight here shortly. You sprint to that gunfight or you use your thrusters to close ground, anything like that, pop that cardio kick, refresh. Now you have all this movement tech at your disposal. So if you find yourself in a gunfight, the opposition thinks you're here, you use your thrusters to get behind them. It takes them a while to turn around and readjust for them to start shooting again. You have the opportunity to take first shot at them. You get the knock, you get the finish, you can thrust out of there, regroup with your homies, reposition, so on and so forth, right? And the cardio kicks give you the opportunity to open that up. Now, I do know they may be a bit challenging to come across if you are in early game. I totally understand that and I get that. But something you should prioritize if you plan on maining Destroyer is making sure that you go to the upgrade tree. You see where in the upgrade tree can you purchase those cardio kicks. I can't remember top of mind, so don't even give me the line here on this video. But look at where that is and make sure that that is an objective of yours to rank up your faction to whatever rank that needs to be so that you can activate that upgrade node and you can purchase cardio kicks. And I'm gonna keep it a buck. It may not be till like level 25 with like Mida or Traxxas or Nucleorc or something like that. Still have that in the back of your mind. Say, I need to get there so I can get the cardio kicks so I can really maximize Destroyer. It may take you a while, but you'll get there. And beautiful people, with that all being said and done, Destroyer is one of the best runners in Marathon for my people that want to be aggressive, that want to create chaos, and I just want to have a good time. I believe it's very underrated, but I'm curious to hear what you all think. Are you all digging Destroyer or are you not? If you aren't, what runner are you maining in today's day and age? I mean, at this point in time, Marathon has been out for almost 2 weeks, so I would love to know your thoughts ultimately about the game. I hope this video was helpful for you all. If it was not, I apologize so much for wasting your time, but if it was, do me the biggest favor, let me know by liking the video. First and foremost, hype the video if you have the opportunity to do that. It's somewhere down there. Just go ahead and spend those hype points if you got them. If you don't, doesn't even matter. I still love you either way. Again, comment down below. Let me know what runner we are rocking with and we plan on rocking with until further notice here in Marathon. And until next time, it's been your boy Cray. I'm signing out. I love you all so much. Thank you all so much for coming and watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.